What is up? Back
What up, Jay?
again.
How are you?
Here we go. Good. I wanted to talk today. We're going to get right into it because this is a good one. This is
Jump
one
on
I
in.
struggle with.
Let's go.
This is one that I struggle with. And I mentioned to you today, it's why do I judge everyone and everything while my life is a shit show? Now, my life is not a shit show, but I still do a lot of judging. And I thought of it this way, and I want you to talk about this. Judgment, to me, it's like a constant in the background of my life. It's a sneering, critical voice that has an opinion on everything and everyone. I judge people's clothes. I judge their choices. I judge people's tone of voice. I judge their success when I get jealous. I judge their failures. I told you this. You should listen to me. I judge the world.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Me too.
And I think addicts have this judgment little thing going on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We got this in spades. The first greatest lie of my addiction is this time will be different. I won't get arrested this time. I won't wake up with blood on me this time. Oh, the family won't kick me out this time. This time will be different. So that's the first greatest lie of our addiction. Very important to understand that. However,
Yes.
the second greatest lie of our addiction, our addictive behavior is, well, if only you were different, I would be okay.
Yes.
I'm constantly blaming other people. I'm constantly judging other people. I'm constantly judging situations, circumstances, timing. If those things were different, I would be. And so there's a lot to unwrap here, bro. This is an excellent topic to discuss, especially when it comes to navigating the world. Putting down the addiction is one thing. I'm no longer pouring alcohol down my throat. That's one thing. You're no longer getting 12 Big Macs at a time from McDonald's overeating.
Right.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
But now this topic is about navigating life on life's terms. This topic is about how can I be most useful in the world? I'm not pouring alcohol down my throat today. That's not the problem. The problem is my fucking thinking. I'm constantly judging. I'm constantly angry. I'm constantly whacked. What's wrong with me is you. Get out of my way. Don't you know the fuck I am? Get out of my way.
Right.
And so there's really a lot to unravel here. Part of it is evolutionary psychology. We've talked about this a lot in the past. Around 300,000 or 250,000 years ago, the human brain had a huge increase in the frontal lobe group by 20%. That was probably because of an increased exposure to protein. Our ancestors started digesting more protein, so our brain grew. That also meant we started to perceive the future. We started to think much differently than every other species. Our brain does not stop. We're constantly trying to navigate the future, which also means we're constantly looking for predators. Oh, that thing kills me. Once our brain grew, we understood, you know what? If I don't go hunt, if I don't go gather, that's going to kill me. So there was just more and more to worry about because we had more and more capacity to think.
That's so good, bro.
So that's a part of it.
Do you feel like because I want to stop here on this evolutionary psychology because this is for everyone that's not woo.
No.
This is what your brain is fucking doing. Evolved to help us discern threats. That's what that is. Who's safe? Like you said, who's safe? Who's not? What's worth our time? What's dangerous? It's a tool that kept us alive. But as an addict, and I want people to understand this, your mind has turned a tool into a weapon. And you're not just discerning anymore. You're tearing everything apart. Discernment is totally different than judgment. And I want people to understand that. Discernment is a good thing. Discernment is you're having humility, you feel peace about something, you don't. You're saying yes, you're saying no. It's pleasant. Relationships are amazing. But an addict hijacks survival instincts like we do with the bottle and me with Big Macs, everything else like you said. So our brain gets addicted to the flood of fear. It gets addicted to the emotion of shame. It gets addicted to self-loathing. And it scans the world for targets. We got these little scanners to offload all this internal pain. I don't know. It's like you said. I don't know how to handle all of this. So I'm just going to take my weapon. I got one weapon. And that's to fucking offload all this pain in through judgment. And so judgment becomes my weapon of choice because it shields me. And I'll let you talk after this. It shields me against vulnerability and truth. So addicts can handle those two things, vulnerability and truth.
In our addiction, I got two speeds. I'm all or nothing. So it's very important that we're starting to like just pull back the layers of understanding here. I need to understand that I go to the extremes. I'm all or nothing. So in my thinking, in my judgment, I go to an extreme with it. And you nailed it exactly right with the evolutionary psychology and the release of chemicals in the brain, the cortisol that's released, the stress hormone that's released. It's always fight or flight with me. Time to judge, time to be superior. I better get prepared to fight this motherfucker right in front of me at the grocery store. This guy's a stranger. He has no idea who I am. He's just getting avocados. Oh my God, he's getting avocados like me. And I'm prepared for battle. That's not a normal response. That's an extreme response. Addicts, especially, we just take it all the way. We take it to an extreme. So it's important to start pulling back the layers and say, I don't have to do that anymore. I'm not in the wilderness surviving where it's not 300,000 years ago. There is no tiger in the room with me. I can come back home. I can invite God into the situation. One simple tool to start addressing this problem of overjudgment, superiority, of course, is inviting the appropriate power in. Can I invite God in and say, God, help me not judge? Simple fucking prayer. Simple tool.
Yes.
God, help me not judge. Go to Walmart and try not to judge. You know what I mean? There's going to be 27 judgments before I walk in the door. I'm fighting people in the parking lot. And then that one person gets on the scooter and I'm really starting to judge. This overweight motherfucker. So at Walmart is excellent practice ground for the judging. Just go into Walmart, try not judge. But it's really cool that we're addressing this from the ground up. Evolutionary psychology. Our brain is going to work this way regardless. I'm not going to get rid of my survival instinct brain. What we're discussing now into later, more advanced recovery is, am I navigating the world with any inner peace? Do I have any serenity at all? Like you said, Jake, do I have any compassion? Can I be vulnerable? Can I see that other person as one of God's kids as well? Or am I here for my superiority, my judgment? Get the fuck out of my way.
That's so good, bro. And what I think we all know as addicts is that these things kill us slowly. It's death by.
Yes.
And what we have to look at in this cycle of judgment is deflection, distraction. Just like in our addiction, judgment is just another form of addiction. And that's what we did in our addiction. We deflected, distracted, while our life would crumble. So why is this happening? This is what I want to talk to you about. The real enemy and why a lot of people have addiction in the first place is self-hatred. You don't judge others because you're superior. You judge other people because deep down you're drowning in self-hatred. That's what I'm saying, and you have the statement on this too, but I want you to look anywhere else but at me. Because in my addiction, it breeds shame in my life. And shame feels judgment. And my life is chaos. And deep down, I don't want to admit that that's happening. And I don't want to feel the weight of my failures. I don't want to feel the weight of my broken relationships. I don't want to feel the weight of me and my missed opportunities with work. And so instead of sitting with that pain, instead of facing it head on and being the man that I should be, I need to project it out. Because it's way easier to criticize someone at Walmart in the parking lot than it is to confront the wreckage that I've caused and that I need to own. I need to take responsibility for the wreckage. When I really think about, and I'm going to give this over to you, but when I think about the last time I judged someone, I was thinking about it earlier today, and it was earlier this morning when I was judging. I was like, what triggered it? Was it their success? Was it their happiness? Was it their confidence? I think a lot of times my judgment rises when I see in others something that I lack or I desperately want. Yes. And I think it's a mirror reflecting the gaping holes in my own soul. If that makes sense. We're getting spiritual now, but
that's powerful. Absolutely, bro. That's really well said. And it's also beautiful because everybody has this. There's not another, It's understandable. It's relatable. There's not another human being on planet Earth, even a monk on top of a fucking mountain, that doesn't sometimes deal with judgment. That doesn't sometimes deal with lack. That doesn't sometimes deal with, well, what's going on inside of me? You nailed it, bro. You absolutely nailed it. Very easy to sidestep the responsibility of looking at myself, my own hurt, my own trauma, my own misconduct, when I can judge you instead. That's why the second greatest lie of addiction is, what's wrong with me? You. If only you were different, I would be okay. And that's a fucking delusion. I'm the one that has to do the introspection. I'm the one that can change me. I can never change the outside world or its circumstances. I can barely have control over my thinking, let alone other people and their behavior. You know what I mean? We're struggling with our own thinking. How delusional is it to think I'm going to change someone else and their behavior? If I just judge you enough, if I'm just cruel enough, if I just criticize enough, you'll behave the way I want you to be. Then I'm a tyrant and you become my slave. So that's my addiction in regards to I'm addicted to judging and I'm addicted to control and I'm addicted to getting my own way. So we start living this backwards way of life. Absolutely. It's a tyrant sense of control. Definitely not what we want. It's definitely not what we want. Because it pushes people away from it. It's actually, we get the opposite.
Don't you feel like when I can pick somebody apart, it gives me this illusion of a choice of me to feeling grounded?
Absolutely. Not in my superiority. I can be confident because I'm doing better than you.
I have a better answer. I know better. So if you would only listen to me, but don't you feel like the control's a lie? Because for me, control is where I tend to avoid responsibility. Judgment distracts me from the work that I need to do. You've told me, and I use this all the time, is just keep your fucking mouth shut, Jason. Why is that such a powerful affirmation? Because judgment distracts me from the work that needs to be done, and that's facing my motherfucking self. That's facing my addiction. That's facing my trauma and my healing. Because I'm getting triggered by this person. That trigger should be like, get to work, Jason. We need to work on this. Why is this trigger happening? Instead of me running over there and having to have a shit show with somebody or in my mind telling them to fuck off. It's always the people that we love the most, whether it's relationships at work or home or whatever. And it's the comfort of control. Absolutely. It's that false sense of control.
I heard something recently that I really liked, bro, in regards to the false sense of control. And that's true. And I agree with that. And it being a lie. That's true. And I agree with that. But in a way, it's not a lie. I just get control over hell. If it is real for me, I am judging everybody and I am superior. So that is my reality. And then I'm king. But what am I king of? I'm king over fucking hell. You're the worst demon in hell, bro. So I get it, because that being false sense of control is true. I agree with that also, because I'm not in alignment with the power that's connected to God. I'm in alignment with my ego. And so I become the king of hell when I go down the judgmental path. And then when we start doing that self-reflection and that introspection, just like you said, can I actually look at myself? Can I look at my own behavior instead of being so absorbed with the world and its misbehavior? Can I turn that gaze inward? And can I do the necessary work where I actually have the real control that aligns me with God, that aligns me with my higher power, that aligns me with the thing that feels good? I don't want to go through the world triggered in cortisol, prepared for battle. There's been research done that even schizophrenia is caused by long durations of continual exposure to cortisol, stress hormone. If the individual never relaxes, never enters the parasympathetic nervous system, the relax and digest, they can even develop, they go so crazy in their mind, they can even develop schizophrenia. I'm fighting so many people in my mind, they don't even exist. So that's where it leads us. We got to really start looking at this stuff if we're serious about having some inner peace in our life, having some...
I think also the root of it, I think at its core, judgment is fear in disguise. It's fear being judged, so you judge first.
Yes.
You fear being seen, so you have to point the finger to deflect attention. And an addict will do this constantly. Well, I'm not as bad as that person, or I make it to work on time. I may drink a bottle every night, a fifth, but I can get up in the morning. I'm okay. It's just you fear change, so you have to cling to criticism as a way to keep the world at arm's length. And I think this is what I do a lot of times. The fear is so much that, and it whispers lies in my ears. It's like the resistance we were talking about earlier, that little part of resistance that causes you not to go to the gym, do all those things. And it's like, if you don't judge, you'll be exposed. If you don't criticize, you'll lose your edge. Get to her in a relationship. Show your wit. Show how smart you are. Show how spiritual you are. Show how fucking cool you are. How much she deserves you. How better off you are. All these things run to my head because I don't want to lose my edge. So if I criticize it and I can fucking slam her to the ground and make her feel like shit and push her down, or she doesn't even feel like a woman. And I can do that. I'm so fucking cruel that I can let go. And then I feel great, but I just ruined somebody's life.
Right.
And I ruined the relationship.
Expense.
And I think fear is just a shadow, but we're light. That's what we're light motherfuckers. So I think it's just at the root of it. I think it's fear. I think we criticize because of fear.
I agree 1,000%, bro. That's very well said. And it's good for us to start to understand that when I'm feeling the criticism, when I'm feeling the judgment sneak, and when I feel that those emotions crop up, especially anger for me, I'll judge so much. One of my first responses is anger. And just like you said, the anger, the judgment, the criticism, that's the mask that fear is wearing. Underneath that mask, I'm really afraid. I'm afraid I'm not going to get what I want, or I'm afraid that I'm going to lose something and again, it's time to pull back those layers of the human brain in evolutionary psychology and say, that's not happening to me today. I do not need to compete with the individual at Walmart with the avocados, because there's enough avocados for both of us. I'm good. You know what? I heard something, bro, and I apologize because we're going to get deep in now, but I ain't sorry at all. It's good. I've really been hot with this recently. And of course, we listen to a lot of people. Wisdom is collective. So we encourage you guys, go out there, seek other podcasts, seek people that inspire you, listen to our other podcasts. I always want to be constantly learning, constantly exposed to new solutions. If the brain has 60,000 thoughts a day, those are judgments. One of the great teachers that we both love is Eckhart Tolle. And Tolle's version is every thought is a judgment. If you really get down to it, every single thought is a judgment, even if it's good, even if it's like, oh, what a beautiful flower, nice sunset, I made it home and I'm in bed on time. Those are still judgments. They're just positive judgments. So we need to start, or I would like to be willing to start bumping up my positive thinking, bumping up my positive judgments more than let me be superior. Judge, fear, maybe we just kill this guy. I'm so afraid of him, we should just kill him. Yes, and the part that is important to understand is we have 60,000 opportunities a day on average. Do I want to choose positivity, or do I want to choose negative, cortisol, addictive behavior?
You feel like whenever you're judging others harshly, when we're actually the cruel, the tyrant, it's that tyrant part. Do you feel like it's attached to your addiction?
I feel like you nailed it with some of the first earlier in the podcast, that I'm addicted to judging. Like judgment just comes to replace the thing, the addiction. It's like, I'm not pouring alcohol down my throat today, but I am constantly judging people. I am constantly trying to be superior. Right. I am constantly going to the gym. I work out probably fucking 14 times a week. I don't know if I need to do that.
Right. And I feel like the answer to this all really, and we did a whole episode on radical accountability, but I want to get into this some more, because radical accountability is the antidote, I believe, to judgment, because it requires two things. Well, it actually requires three things. Number one is it requires courage, which addicts don't have courage. They're cowards. Number two, it requires humility. We're the most prideful people out there. We don't like humility. And then number three, this is the one that gets everyone. It requires action.
Oh, yes.
So when you look at those things, so courage, humility, and action, and I think number one, and I'll let you talk about this because you know about this big time. I think number one, we need to admit that we're in pain. Judgment is just a symptom of an internal suffering. I don't want you to talk about suffering here in a second, but it acknowledges, it says out loud, it says, I'm hurting and I'm scared. My life is unmanageable. And when you can have radical accountability and say that, admit the pain, that's actually strength, not weakness. When you can say, I'm hurting, I'm scared, and my life is unmanageable, that's the start of something amazing.
Very powerful, bro. You can start laying the foundation to a new life with that admission and with that vulnerability. That's very powerful. How paradoxical is it that me telling the truth and starting to get vulnerable is actually me tapping into genuine strength? That's when I'm genuinely getting connected to the part of me that can heal my addiction. Have to get honest first. And you don't get to practice courage unless you got a lot of fucking fear.
You know what's weird? I was getting ready to get into an argument with my girlfriend the other night. Didn't.
Yes.
But I was reading stuff about this, and I read somebody said this, the I'm hurting, I'm scared thing. I said that to myself before. I was getting pissed off. And I was like, I'm hurting and I'm scared right now. I'm hurting.
Wow.
She's pissed me off because I'm running a scenario in my head that's not true, that's hurting me. The emotion in the scenario is hurting me. And now I'm scared I'm going to lose the relationship.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason I wanted to go fucking tyrant mode on her.
Yep.
And I bypassed all of that by just having that admission.
That's so powerful. You caught it. You caught the thought. You taught me that. You taught me that with the catch and release, like fishing. You can catch the thought, release it, and then you weren't the tyrant of the household. You negotiated the situation.
And one of the things that you taught me, and I think this is really good, and I want you to mention this, is number 2, own your chaos. Stop pretending your life isn't a mess. Stop deflecting. Own your chaos. And how you own your chaos, and this is dishing it right off back to you, is write it down. List every area of your life that's out of control, your relationships, your finance, your health, your emotion. We're going to fucking face it. Why is it so powerful to write it down, bro?
Well, for many reasons, but one would be if I'm just, my body is insane and I'm filled with this cortisol and I'm experiencing chaos left and right, it's often very overwhelming. And I don't know where to start. What's the next step? What's the corrective action I should take? That much chaos is paralyzed. Many people freeze. They don't know what to do. It's like asking a GPS system to go 10 places at once. It can't. You ask a GPS to go one place. Our brain is like that too. So you start writing these things down. One reason is I'm giving those emotions someplace to live other than inside my body. Those emotions, I start getting out of my body. Going to the gym is like that. Give those emotions someplace else to live other than inside my body. So
that's so
you
good.
write it down to get the emotional outlet. But another beneficial reason is now I can start picking apart what direction I need to head in. I'm no longer a GPS system trying to go 10 places at once. I have my hierarchy. I probably wrote it down in the sequence of things kicking my ass most. I wrote it down with women, number 1, money, number 2, job, number 3, these motherfuckers. And so it's there, black and white in front of me, in accordance with action. Address this corrective. And usually the corrective action looks like, God, I need your help. Or higher self, what would you want for this situation? Or God, shine your light on this situation. There's another benefit of writing it down. I start building a relationship with a higher power. I start building a relationship with my higher self. It's just like you did the other night. You have, it's important to understand that Jason and I practice this as a way of life. It's not just a theory or an idea. You have practiced this so much, Jay, that you didn't need to write it down. You were able to do it in the moment with your partner.
Right, exactly.
I want it ingrained in my mind. That is a better thought than 300,000-year-old reptilian brain that is judging and ready for fighting. And ready for
she didn't even know. So you know what I did? She doesn't have an addiction. So I went in, she didn't know I was fuming and going fucking crazy in my head.
Yeah.
So what I did was let me be of service right now. So because I know it's my fault. It's not my fault, but it's the fear, it's the anger, it's all those things inside of me. And so I dealt with those and I was like, I'm going to go get glass. I got some nice wine. I poured her a glass and gave it to her. I said, love you, babe. Here you go. And she doesn't know. If she watches the podcast, listens to the podcast, she'll know. But she had no idea. I didn't create any chaos.
There's an additional benefit to writing it down. It starts to rewire my mind. It starts to rewire my actions. I can actually behave differently out in the world if I do this enough. If I get specific enough, write it down enough, take corrective action enough. It changes my behavior. It changes me in the world.
I love that. And one of the things that really helped me with this too is to get curious, not critical. So when I catch myself judging someone, I'm in the parking lot and this person's, they're so fat, they're taking forever to walk across the thing. And I'm sitting there waiting and they're just going slow and their sweats are they haven't washed their sweats in fucking 2 years and the list goes on and on, right? Here's what I've been doing, bro. This has been so good. I've been saying, what does this judgment say about me?
Yes.
I'm going to say that again. I want people to write this down. What does this judgment say about me?
I'm an asshole.
No, it's a question for me that highlights my insecurity.
Okay.
Maybe I was homeless and I was like that before. I couldn't even afford to go into Walmart. And I have a fear of going back, something happening, losing my job, my boss not liking me anymore.
Yes.
And it's unwarranted because I have a ton of money in the bank. I could retire, but I still have this fear always. I check my bank account. It's just all that person is doing is just highlighting that insecurity in me that I have. I have a fear of failure. I have a fear of losing it all. And people that are ultra successful can do that too. Like I could be jealous of somebody or see something. It's just the judgment becomes a mirror to understand myself better. That's all it is. Once you alchemize it.
Yes, that's what the question does. Your question alchemizes the judgment. What does this judgment say about me? How do I turn this shitty part of me into gold? How we turn it into gold is we drag the shadow part of us that we don't want to look at into the light. We drag that judgment into the light, shine God's light on it, and then it can be transmuted. And I can have there, for the grace of God goes I, perspective, rather than I'm doing much better than this guy perspective. Aren't I superior to this individual? And really, we have already addressed that. What's underneath that is my fear, is my insecurity,
my fear,
like, man, fuck, I know that my life was miserable when I was sleeping in my car and didn't have a fucking place to call home because I had drunk everything away. Yes, very powerful, bro. So
also, it's real practical.
Absolutely. It is practical, and it's the avenue to freedom. I judge so much that I'm a prisoner in my own mind.
That's good, bro. Yeah.
Yes, and then this introspection, writing it down, this questioning, this. So that's another Tolle teaching is who's the observer? Which part of me understands that that's a judgment? Which part of me understands that's not a useful judgment? That's a cruel judgment. That's the observer. Well, the observer is also my inner being. That's also the part of me that's God consciousness. That's the part of me that's connected to source, that is vertical dimension. We're getting in touch with the vertical dimension when we start to address our judgment, our harsh, cruel judgment. That's the observers. We're building a relationship to the observer. That's how you alchemize the judgment. You get closer and closer to the part that's really you.
That's so good. Do you feel like when it comes to, because you've taught me this one and you were doing this a lot, I know, especially with people in traffic or whatever, and that's to practice compassion. Because to me, compassion is the enemy of judgment. It's the enemy. When you see someone you want to criticize and you can challenge yourself to see their humanity.
Yes.
And see that they're struggling just like you. They're imperfect just like you. And then you can practice, notice where you practice compassion. I believe that it opens the door to the higher self to allow him, they, them, whatever, here to come in and heal, begin to heal. I think the higher self is the one, and just to that window of grace, the higher self is the one that has to do the work.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that is the miracle. That's the freedom that we're discussing when I start to break the bonds of my inner judgment. Bro, I've come across something recently that I think you will like. This is a Jordan Peterson teaching, who we're huge fans of as well. But to make it make sense in our own life and to tie it back in with what we started the podcast about, the evolutionary psychology and my judgmental brain and my survival. Well, you haven't found, those that are listening, you haven't found this podcast by accident. You're interested in expanding. You're interested in healing your life, in becoming something new, something more effective, something that is you're interested in having a life that is worthwhile.
Yes.
And I would say that makes us on the leading edge of our new evolution. So if you're in recovery, if you're listening to Recovered Addict Podcast, if you have an expansion practice, we're on the leading edge of human evolution. And this next step in human evolution, we believe, Jason and I believe, is going to be a spiritual one. It's getting in 100%. Touch. It's getting in touch with the part of me that is source, getting in touch with the part of me that is God, getting in touch with the part of me that does not judge, that loves. And so the teaching that I want to talk with you about, bro, I'm very excited to talk about this, is that neuroscientists and psychologists have found and proven that the human brain perceives the world through a story. We do not perceive the world object first, story second. We don't do that. The brain does this so well, it does it in a millisecond. We perceive the world story first, object second. I don't see this and say circular cylinder with liquid. That is not what my brain says. My brain says That's a 3/4 gallon. I'm supposed to drink 2 of those a day. My body is going to be hydrated. It's going to push the nutrients into my muscle tissue. It's going to make me high functioning. And I'm probably going to live in the bathroom. That's a story. And then my brain perceives the object and my fingers can grip it to the appropriate size and all that. That's how we see everything. I don't look at a car and say a rectangular piece of metal with 4 wheels and a steering. I don't do that. I say, that's nice. I bet you it's fast. And it was expensive. Lovely. And then I perceive the metal and wheels. So that's how we're perceiving the world all the time. So if that is the case, our brain that has been evolving for millions and millions of years, 300,000 now with the new cortex, the frontal lobe, if that's the case, we see the world through a story. What's the fucking story? What story do I want to tell? How do I want to perceive the world? Well, some of the addicts' stories are power, fucking power. I'm superior and I want control. So that's how I see everything. And that's why I judge everybody all the time.
That's so good, yes.
Another story is hedonism and sex. This would be the Marxist, super far left, extreme left. We don't care. Do whatever you want. Have sex with whoever you want. You can change your gender. Do whatever you want. Everybody's free to do whatever they want. Hedonism, free. That doesn't work either because that's too much chaos. Then I'm a GPS system that doesn't know where to go. So that story doesn't work. What's the story that answers the call of those two insane options? The Old Testament teaches the 10 Commandments, law. The New Testament and Jesus teach love.
Yes.
And I perceive the world with the Christ perspective and see, because I can see a bum on the street and say, fuck that motherfucker, my taxes. He's taking my fucking taxes and he should get a fucking job. That's the story of power. Or I could see a bum on the street and say, that's one of God's kids. And he's on his own awakening journey the same way I'm on my own awakening journey. And everybody deserves the same chance to heal the way I got a chance to heal. Everybody deserves that. So what's the fucking story? How do you want to perceive reality? How do you want to judge the world? We start addressing our story when we get it down on paper. And we start connecting to God, and we start trying to tell the story through the God consciousness that lives inside of us, because that part of me is going to tell a loving story. That part of me is going to tell a compassionate story, dude. That's where we find the solution. So just like you said, bro, the solution, just like you said, to my judgment is compassion. I need to view the world with compassionate eyes. I need to have a compassionate story. That's not going to happen in my ego. That's going to happen in my spirit. My spirit has to be the person, the part of me perceiving the world.
That's so good, because the spirit story is totally different than the egoic evolutionary story.
It's freedom. The spirit story is freedom, and the ego story is I need to fight for my life.
Yeah. This person's fucking me over.
I don't even know them. I've never said 2 words to them, motherfucker.
That's crazy, dude. We got to do a whole podcast on that, but I know you got to leave at 2:45. So I want people to understand this. We're going to do a whole podcast on what's your story. I think that we'll do that next week. But I want everybody to understand judgment won't heal you. It's not going to fix your life. It won't make the pain go away. Only you can do that. So put down the gavel, step out of the courtroom, and start building a life you deserve.
Absolutely. Good luck, guys.